Why do ADHD brains crave horror?
So, do you like horror movies?
Yeah, I love horror movies.
Ooh, so you're into like dark stuff then? I mean, kinda, but I mainly just watch them for the dopamine. You know, I watch horror movies to feel something.
It's not just jump scares, it's a neurochemical reaction. Today we're discussing how dopamine and its dysregulation can turn fear into fuel, and why it may make people with ADHD the biggest horror fans. So how do we turn fear into fuel? First, we need to rewire how we see fear itself. ADHD brains show lower dopamine transmission in reward pathways. Horror movies deliver rapid dopamine spikes through suspense, acting like a stimulant for understimulated brains. This explains why high sensation seekers, which is common in ADHD, prefer intense horror.
I hope they are watching. They'll see. They'll see and they'll know and they'll say.
In 2020, a study found that horror lights up regions in the brain that process real thoughts. But for ADHD brains, this practice run builds resilience. It's exposure therapy without any real danger. Normally, the amygdala screams danger during a horror movie, but with ADHD, impaired threat detection in real life makes controlled fear more rewarding. A case study showed bilateral amygdala damaged patients enjoyed horror clips others feared. So horror literally rewires our stress response. But does that mean it's good for us? I personally love horror movies. The thrill, it's something that I wouldn't seek out in real life, but it's just that. It's like a practice run for my brain. It helps me practice subconsciously how to handle that fear and how to rationalize certain events. My brain almost resets after an overwhelming scene, like a palate cleanser. Let me know if you can relate. Do you feel horror is a coping tool or just escapism? Let me know in the comments. ADHD brains thrive in predictive error zones, where uncertainty forces hyperfocus. Horror movies engineer this perfectly. In 2023, a study showed horror's jump scares sync brain activities across viewers, creating a collective fight-or-flight mode. This makes me think of moments like Paranormal Activity. Watching that in theaters for the first time really felt like a collective experience, similar to Endgame or any epic blockbuster. Experiencing with other people's almost amplify the effects for yourself. So with horror, when you have 50 people in the same room feeling that suspense, it makes it that much more real. And I think there's something in sharing an experience that we all enjoy.
Looks like something big here.
House, me.
You cannot run from this, it will follow you.
Fun fact, fans of horror generally showed lower levels of distress during the pandemic. Why? Practicing simulated survival builds emotional muscle memory, but horror can backfire. For other people, violence can make them feel visceral and cause a lingering anxiety, and binge watching disrupts sleep, a critical ADHD vulnerability. So where is that line between therapeutic and traumatic? When I was younger, horror movies definitely left me feeling more anxious. I definitely thought about them for way longer. I had nightmares. But as I got older, I found more pleasure in that experience, whether by myself, which took a little bit longer, or with a group of people. Nowadays, it's almost a comfort. I really enjoy discovering new horror and showing others classic horror movies. VHS being one of those that I've always gone back to. It's so unnerving, and the mystery about what's going on and what you're about to watch, it adds to that intensity. For others, that may make them feel more uncomfortable for much longer, and I can definitely empathize with that. And of course, there's so many different genres of horror. For me, the supernatural, the mysterious, I find comfort in that form of storytelling. But the fear of the unknown might be one of those things that make people uncomfortable. So what's your favorite horror genre? Psychological thrillers, gore, or do you just stay away from it completely? Let me know in the comments. And if you have any good recommendations, please let me know.
Right here.
So how can we use this understanding of horror and what it does to our brains to help us in our day-to-day life? How can we use horror strategically? One of the things I found was timed thrills. Watching horror before a tedious task. The dopamine surge boosts focus for up to 2 hours, but it tends not to be such a good idea if you're on some kind of stimulant medication. Horror does tend to spike your heart rate, and the combination might not be great, so watch responsibly. Another one I found was social scaffolding, kind of touching on what we mentioned earlier. Shared viewing spikes oxytocin, easing ADHD loneliness. Upwards of 70% of horror fans watch in groups for that shared resilience. And if you tend to be sensitive, make sure you watch these movies in a comfortable environment. Lights on, daytime, and maybe stay away from any specific phobias. It might be best to avoid exposure in those cases. I typically am fine with any genre. There was one movie that really messed with me, and it was Megan is Missing. Too real, too real. I find myself thinking about that for way longer than I should. So, is horror an ADHD superpower? Science says yes. It hooks our dopamine-hungry brains and trains stress resilience. But remember, you may be risking your sleep and potentially getting overstimulated. So now it's your turn. What horror scene lives rent-free in your brain? For me, I'll never forget the first time I saw The Ring. That first scene in the closet. If you know, you know. If you find yourself struggling to watch horror movies, try one of these tips. Let me know how it goes for you. Hopefully you get some sleep. And subscribe for more of these videos. I appreciate any of you who have found these videos and have subscribed and just interacted. I'm happy to get any feedback. And as always, let me know what you guys want to see. I appreciate you. Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace.